Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Point Counterpoint with Charlie and Pastor Gary. I'm Charlie. Sitting over there is Pastor Gary. This program is brought to you by charleshentz.com World Hype and Dare to Be Different Food Pantry. If you'd like to contribute to the show, or if you'd like to contribute to the food pantry, please go to charleshentz.com, hit the blue button, and give us anything that you can possibly spare. Nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars. Change is okay, but we'd rather have folding money. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the next episode, and we're going to be talking about evil men. Evil men.
Evil men.
And on the way up here, I was thinking, just about everyone that you ever talk to believes that there are devils, Beelzebubs, witches, goblins, maybe even extraterrestrials. They all believe that. Interestingly enough, the ones that believe that don't necessarily believe that there is a God or that there is an afterlife. And it's kind of a dichotomy, a problem. You know, they believe in devils, witches, and goblins, and spooks, and evil people, and that there is evil in the world. Why don't they believe that there's good in the world?
Right. I mean, that makes sense.
It does.
You have to have good and evil, right and wrong. I mean, they're all
the yin and the yang, the balance out. Yeah. I mean, why does people don't necessarily believe that? And that's there are three types of believers. Mm-hmm. There are believers, there are agnostics, and then there are atheists. Mm-hmm. But ladies and gentlemen, when you finally come to your last day and you're going to be placed to rest, the Lord our God doesn't show any difference between atheists and agnostics. When you have breathed your last breath, if you are either a believer or a non-believer, it's only the language that the people use. Oh, we have an agnostic. What's an agnostic? Well, I'm willing to believe, but you have to show me. Mm-hmm. After you lay down for the last time, it's too late. Yeah. It's all over.
It's a believer or a non-believer.
That's right.
So you can have as many categories under the non-believer heading as you'd like.
Yeah, yes, you absolutely can. It just threw into my OBGTQ, as many categories as you want. Yeah. But when you go to the other side, it's either male or female. Mm-hmm. You see, it's very simple. Yeah. And when it comes to the Lord, it's either you is or you ain't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to talk about evil men. Mm-hmm. And there is evil. There have been evil men. Stalin, Hitler, Tojo, Mussolini, Mao Zedong, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia,
and Idi Amin.
Idi Amin.
Mm-hmm. He was in what country? Do you remember? Idi Amin. He was in Kenya. No.
In an African country.
Yeah.
And then, of course, over here, we have evil men. Mm-hmm. We have Obama. Mm-hmm. We have Biden. We have George Soros. Mm-hmm.
And don't forget John Kerry.
And we have John Kerry. Mm-hmm. I believe we have Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are evil. Mm-hmm.
And Bill Gates.
Yes.
Let's not leave him out.
And a lot of this evilness has to do with
power and
money
control.
And power.
Power and control.
Power and control. I just wanted to read you an interesting point from Benjamin Franklin. He who would trade liberty for some temporary security deserves neither liberty nor security. Mm. And that's what's happening today. And they're not doing it for your liberty or your security. They're doing it for power and money. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing it for. And to start out on I'm going to start out on a light note before I get into that. Reading a little off the subject. Thoughts of an old man with too much time to think.
Well, we do have a lot of time to think when we retire.
Yeah, too much time to think. Thoughts of an old man. Thought I would share this. It made me smile, and I hope it makes you smile before we get into the nuts and bolts of evil men. Mm-hmm. Having plans sounds like a good idea until you have to put on clothes and leave the house. It's weird being the same age as old people.
It is weird.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be older. That is not what I expected. Or this is not what I expected. Life is like a helicopter. I don't know how to operate a helicopter. Chocolate is God's way of telling us he likes us a little bit chubby. It's probably my age that tricks people into thinking I'm an adult. Marriage counselor, your wife says you never buy her flowers. Is that true? Husband, to be honest, I never knew she sold flowers. Never sing in the shower. Singing leads to dancing, dancing leads to slipping, and slipping leads to paramedics seeing you naked. So remember, don't sing.
Good point.
I don't think the therapist is supposed to say, wow, that many times in your first session, but here we are. If 2020 was a math word problem, if you're going down a river at 2 miles per hour and your canoe loses a wheel, how much pancake mix would you need to reshingle your roof? I see people about my age mountain climbing. I feel good getting my leg through my underwear without losing my balance. Oh, well. We can all agree that in 2015, not a single person got the answer correct to, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? So,
we didn't think we'd be locked down.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So if a cow doesn't produce milk, is it a milk dud or an utter failure?
These are cute.
If you don't think of a word, say, I forgot the English word for it. Let's see. If you can't think of a word, say, I forgot the English word for it. That way people will think you're bilingual instead of an idiot. I'm at a place in my life where errands are starting to count as going out.
Or going to the doctor's
Yeah.
appointments.
Corona coaster. A Corona coaster is a noun.
Oh, it is?
Corona coaster is a noun. The ups and downs of a pandemic. One day you're loving...
Is that a real word in the dictionary now?
No,
Okay.
of course not.
Someday it might be.
Yes, Corona coaster is a noun.
Okay.
The ups and downs of a pandemic.
Okay.
One day you're loving your bubble, doing workouts, baking banana bread, and going for long walks. And the next you're crying, drinking gin for breakfast, and missing people you don't even like. I'm at the age where my mind still thinks I'm 29, my humor suggests I'm 12, while my body mostly keeps asking if I'm sure I'm not dead yet. Don't be worried about your smartphone or TV spying on you. Your vacuum cleaner has been collecting dirt on you for years. I'm getting tired of being part of a major historical event.
That's true.
I don't always go the extra mile, but when I do, it's because I missed my exit. How many of us have looked around our family reunion and thought, well, aren't we just two clowns short of a circus? At what point can we just start using 2020 as profanity? As is, that's a load of 2020. Or, what in the 2020? Or, absolutely 2020. Lootly. Abso 2020 lootly.
Okay.
Yeah. You're a minister. You're not supposed to know these curse words. You don't realize how old you are until you sit on the floor and then you try to get back up.
That's true.
I've also noticed, not in here, that the older I get, when I'm standing, the further away the floor is when I try to pick something up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We all get heavier as we get older because there's a lot more information in our heads. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow.
Whew. Well, now to get serious. We're going to talk about the most evil human being on earth. But he's not alone. He's not alone. It is a complicated web that we weave when we try to deceive. And what are we trying to deceive people about? What our purposes are, what our end goals are, and how intertwined evil is. Just to give you an example, before I got into the most evil human being on earth, and I have to read it, it's long, but then there's also information about how they manipulate us in a book by Peter Schweitzer called Secret Empire. Okay? And it tells you how they use the government to smash businesses and industries so that their friends can grab them when the stock is destroyed. Coal, fossil fuel, drilling, things like that. Even green energy. So on September 22nd, 2009, the Clintons organized a gala event for their 2.5-week-old Clinton Global Initiative. That's 2.5-week old Clinton Global Initiative, the CGI. The Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation was investigated by Congress back in the 60s and 70s and was declared to be an extreme left-wing socialist support organization. And that was also the Ford Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation was an organizing participant and committed $24.5 million. The Clinton Global Initiative was 2 weeks old, and the Rockefeller Foundation gave them $24.5 million. Wow. Alongside of Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Carlos Sim, and a now family array of British Pilgrim Society seditionists. One of the participants, now this is how it weaves around. Isn't it interesting how the Democrats, these left-wing wackos, are always talking about big business, big industry, the stock market, and how they're going to crush them when they get in office. But yet Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Carlos Sim, and others, including these foundations, contribute to them when they get out of office and contribute politically to help them get elected. One of the participants in the CGI Gala was an international crisis group, ICG, International Crisis Group, that is notoriously known to be founded by Pilgrim's Society members, Pilgrim Society seditionists. The Pilgrim Society's members supported the Global Clinton Initiative. Well, who runs the Pilgrim Society? George Soros and Lord Mark Malloch Brown, a British Lord Mark Malloch Brown, who was formerly Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, co-founders of the Soros Open Society Foundation, and owner of Smartmatic electronic voting machines.
Wow. That's an interesting rabbit hole you just went down.
They are owners of Smartmatic electric voting machines with a company called Optech. It's election meddling software embedded, which is now owned by Mitt Romney's son, Tag Romney.
Tag Romney.
Interesting. This was in 2009.
Wow.
2009. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the most evil human being on the face of the earth. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about smash and grab. But we only have 10 minutes left, and we're going to be moving on to another subject in another segment. But this should pique people's interests. Stephen Croft, born August 22nd, 1945, is an American journalist and a longtime correspondent for 60 Minutes. And Stephen Croft wrote this. Who is Obama? Obama is a puppet. And here is the explanation of the man or demon that pulls his strings. It's not by chance that Obama can manipulate the world. After reading this and Obama's reluctance to accept help on the oil spill, you wonder if the spill is part of the plan to destroy the U.S. There was a big oil spill. Okay. In history, nothing happens by accident. If it happened, you could bet someone planned it. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said that. Who was George Soros? He brought the market down in 2 days. Here is what CBS, Mr. Steve Croft's research, has turned up. It's a bit of a read, and it took 4 months to put together. The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States of America. It's a quote by George Soros. The main obstacle to a stable and just world order, I didn't say world, a world order.
Like the New World Order.
Yeah, is the United States of America. Quote, unquote, George Soros. George Soros is an evil man. He's anti-God, anti-family, anti-American, and anti-good. He killed and robbed his own Jewish people. What we have is Soros is a multi-billionaire atheist with skewed moral values and a sociopath's lack of conscience. He considers himself to be an elite, world-class philosopher, despises the American way, and just loves to do social engineering and change cultures. Gary Schwartz.
That sounds familiar.
Gary Schwartz, better known to the world as George Soros.
Oh, okay. That was his name, Gary Schwartz.
Was born August 12th, 1930 in Hungary. Soros's father, Svadar, was a fervent practitioner of the Esperanto language, invented in 1887 and designed to be the first global language, free of any national identity. The Schwartzes, who were non-practicing Jews, changed the family name to Soros in order to facilitate assimilation into the Gentile population as the Nazis spread into Hungary during the 1930s. When Hitler's henchman Adolf Eichmann arrived in Hungary to oversee the murder of that country's Jews, George Soros ended up with a man whose job was confiscating property from the Jewish population. Soros went with him on his rounds.
Wow.
Soros has repeatedly called 1944 the best year of his life. 70% of Mr. Soros' fellow Jews in Hungary, nearly 500,000 human beings, were annihilated in that year. Yet he gives no sign that this put any damper on his elation. either at the time or indeed in retrospect. During an interview with 60 Minutes with Steve Kroft, Soros was asked about his best year. Kroft: my understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson. Soros: yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from your fellow Jews, friends, and neighbors. Soros: answer: yes, that's right. I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult? No, not at all, not at all. I rather enjoyed it.
Wow.
Kroft: no feelings of guilt? Soros: no, only feelings of absolute power. Absolute power.
Wow.
In his article, Mirovic describes how Soros has admitted to having carried some rather potent messianic fantasies with me from childhood, which I felt I had to control, otherwise they might get me in trouble.
I wonder what some of those fantasies were.
Well, be that as it may, I don't think he puts it out here. After World War II, Soros attended the London School of Economics, where he fell under the thrall of fellow atheist and Hungarian Karl Popper, one of his professors. Popper was a mentor to Soros until Popper's death in 1994. Two of Popper's most influential teachings concerned the open society and philabalism, whatever philabalism is.
Well, I've heard of open society.
Oh, wait a second. Philabalism is the philosophical doctrine that all claims of knowledge could, in principle, be mistaken. Then again, I could be wrong about that. All claims of knowledge could be mistaken. Then again, I could be wrong about that. Mm-hmm. Even the claim of knowledge that you have a claim of knowledge, you could be wrong about that. Right. The open society basically refers to a test and evaluation approach to social engineering. Regarding open society, Roy Childs writes, since the Second World War, most of the Western democracies have followed Popper's advice about piecemeal social engineering and democratic social reform, and it has gotten them into a grand mess. You understand that, folks? We have been following this philosophy since the Second World War, and we are getting into a mess. The more we follow this, the more mess we get into. Mm-hmm. And now we've elected. We had Obama for 8 years, and then his the mentor of Obama, or the puppet, is now in office, following along the same lines. Mm-hmm. So we have George Soros, and George Soros got Obama into politics. And one of the things they did was they attacked the oil and gas and coal, the energy industry. Mm-hmm. And why did they attack the energy industry? They attacked the energy industry to destroy it so that Obama's friends and supporters could buy it up cheap. Mm-hmm. Early on in the Obama administration, one of Soros's biggest investments was in the Brazilian energy giant Petrobras, the state-owned oil company. Because of President Obama's ban on U.S. offshore oil drilling, the Obama administration's Export-Import Bank approved large loan guarantees to Petrobras to explore drilling off the coast of Brazil.
But not off our coast.
Not off our coast, off the coast of Brazil. George Soros has quite a bit of stock in that company. They destroyed the offshore drilling around the world and across the United States, destroying drilling companies. George Soros invested huge funds and owns large shares now of Marathon Petroleum, which is an oil drilling platform company. Soros continued trading aggressively in energy stocks as the stocks were destroyed. In 2009, he pledged to spend a cool $1.1 billion to fund climate change initiatives. Money went to groups like the Friends of the Earth, Alliance for Climate Protection, Earth Justice, the Earth Island Institute, Green for All, and the National Resources Defense Council. I'm going to get into this further on in another segment when we start to talk about Biden's appointment of Curry to the energy czar and how they're still attempting to destroy the energy industry. Example, Biden just came back and canceled the Keystone Pipeline. One of Obama's...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, he canceled the Keystone Pipeline a month or so ago.
Okay.
And he approved a Russian pipeline. Mm-hmm. But you folks don't understand, the reason he canceled the Keystone Pipeline is because one of Obama's major supporters has huge investment in another pipeline. In another Canadian pipeline company that would be affected financially if the Keystone Pipeline were allowed to continue to be built. Mm. And this is all being backed by George Soros. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this little lesson. Stay tuned for, or tune back in for another episode of Point Counterpoint with Charlie and Pastor Gary. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a call at 848-480-6371 and go to whrfm.com on the computer, and please hit that donate button to give to Dare to Be Different Food Pantry. God bless you. Keep your back to the wall and your powder dry till we see you again. Pastor Gary.